Revealed, incredible acts of kindness from Janitor's son transform Billionaire CEO's heart forever. Leo Alvarez, a teenager from the crumbling edges of Midwestern life, had the spirit of a dreamer on a mission. With every sweep of the broom his father wielded at the high school where he worked as the janitor, Leo felt love and resilience sweep into his life. His neighborhood hummed with challenges, yet Leo never backed down. Each day unfolded like a page from an inspiring storybook until the day he met Emily. Emily was everything Leo admired but thought impossible. The daughter of a billionaire CEO, she carried the world at her fingertips. Their friendship blossomed amidst laughter and shunned whispers, kids at school marking the divide that separated them. Yet Leo saw in Emily something genuine, the warmth of her spirit echoing his father's hard-earned values. They were so different, and yet so like, two souls adrift in vastly different oceans, but shadows stirred beneath their friendship. Leo's heart sank when he learned about the unjust treatment his father faced at the hands of Mark, Emily's father, whose cold corporate demeanor stifled the hard-working men of his community. The revelation ignited a storm within Leo. How could he stay loyal to Emily, yet honor his father's sacrifices? Driven by a vision, Leo devised a plan. He would organize a charity event to support local veterans. This was no ordinary event. It was his way of lifting the community he loved, of shining a light on a narrative too often overshadowed by greed. And Emily, ever supportive, would help him connect with her father, hoping that perhaps even Mark could see the value in community over currency. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the charity event arrived, bustling with excitement and joyful chatter. Yet, for Leo, an emotional weight settled like lead in his stomach. As people filled the hall, he wondered if the bridge he built was sturdy enough to withstand scrutiny. Mark entered wearing his usual mask of authority, exuding corporate charm yet concealing a heaviness that transformed him into an island of power. Leo stood at the entrance, heart racing, as he spotted Emily's father. The moment felt electric, an invisible tether tying reputation to redemption. As Leo spoke, his dedication threaded with raw honesty, he reached for something deeper. The murmurs around him shifted, shared breaths of discomfort echoed in the crowd. Then Mark, frozen behind his polished armor, felt the vibration of vulnerability. Their eyes met, two lives dancing on the precipice of connection. Would Mark allow himself the chance to feel, to embrace humility? And would Leo succeed in confronting the inequity his family endured without sacrificing the friendship they built? The atmosphere was thick with urgency, revealing the essence of humanity in a world too often driven by status. In that powerful moment, Leo's father stepped forward, recognized for years of dedication. The crowd erupted, hands clapped, voices cheered aloud, united chorus celebrating the heart of resilience. Finding respect at last, yet amidst the applause, Leo and Mark sensed the clarity of their separate journeys, awakening questions that lingered, poised for resolution. What did loyalty truly mean? As they stood at that pivotal crossroads, the night brimming with possibilities, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that both men were on the verge of transformation if only they dared to open up and connect. The night held its breath, waiting for the answer. The thunderous applause felt like a wave crashing against Leo's chest, filling him with a mix of pride and anxiety. He stood on the stage, heart racing, watching the crowd revel in the moment. But amidst the joy, he couldn't help but feel a tug of something deeper, an uncertainty layered with hope. Mark's expression was inscrutable, a complicated mask that Leo had never seen cracked open, even for a fleeting second. Was this the moment when the wall between them might finally break? "Thank you all for coming tonight," Leo said, his voice steady yet thick with emotion. "This isn't just about raising money. It's about recognizing our heroes, the veterans who sacrificed so much for us. It's about the community we can build together, one with pride and value. They deserve our support." Another wave of cheers erupted, but this time, Leo's gaze was fixed on Mark. Beneath the polite smile, Leo wished he could see more. Did Mark hear him? Did he feel the weight of those words? Emily stood close, eyes sparkling as she cheered enthusiastically with the crowd. For a second, Leo felt stronger, more confident with her by his side. She squeezed his hand, a small gesture that sent warmth spreading through him. It was a reminder of their bond, of the belief that had brought them both to this moment. But in that same moment, when the noise died down, Mark's familiar icy demeanor slipped back into place. He shifted his gaze from Leo to the audience, expressing genuine enthusiasm but failing to truly engage. The disparity was stark, one man standing for the community, another representing its potential profit. As Leo scanned the room filled with familiar faces, neighbors, veterans, families struggling to make ends meet, he wondered if Mark could ever understand. Could he comprehend the spirit of bouncing back from loss, of finding strength in each other? Or was he forever shackled to his corporate empire? Dad, Leo breathed as he caught sight of his father, beaming with pride from the sidelines. The man worked tirelessly, and this moment was a testament to his unwavering dedication. But Leo's heart sank as the recognition of his father's struggles weighed heavily upon him again. What would it mean if Mark never acknowledged him? Finally, after moments that felt like eternities, Mark stepped forward, brushing past the applause and making his way toward the stage. The room went silent, a collective breath held as eyes fixed on the billionaire. "Leo," Mark began, his voice resonating through the crowd, "what you've done tonight is impressive. You've brought people together for a cause that matters. I've seen the face of struggle in this community, the very foundation I built my parents' legacy on, and I'm impressed." Shockwaves rippled through Leo's body. Could this be the moment he had dreamed of? This could be the reconnection, a shot at mending his relationship with Emily's father. But as he looked into Mark's eyes, they were still guarded, layered with skepticism that spoke volumes. "I'll match the donations tonight, not just because it's good for business, but because it's the right thing to do," Mark continued, an unexpected sincerity cutting through the uncertainty. A spark flickered in Leo's heart. Had he truly pierced the armor? Yet, lingering questions haunted him, casting shadows on the moment's brightness. Would this truly be enough to change Mark's heart? Could this newfound acknowledgement transform more than just a charity event into something that emboldened their community? The air buzzed with anticipation as Tommy, an old veteran from their neighborhood, grabbed the spotlight. "Let us not forget the real heroes here," he said, voice cracking with emotion. "Leo, you've shown us that hope can be ignited even in the darkest times. But we need more than just words, we need commitments, and we need action." Leo's heart raced again, echoing Tommy's sentiment. It wasn't just about tonight, it was about what came next. In that moment, standing on the cusp of potential change, Leo realized the journey was far from over. Each person in that crowd held a stake in both his and Mark's story, and he felt a rush of determination. "Let us take this beyond tonight," Leo exclaimed, fueled with urgency. "Let us start a movement for our community, one that changes lives and builds stronger relationships. But we can only do it together." As the crowd roared once again, Leo's confidence surged. Standing before them, he felt the solid weight of his father's love, the unwavering support of Emily, and even a flicker of hope lighting within Mark. But as he looked back at Mark's expression, a question echoed in Leo's mind: was this just the beginning, or the setup for a greater conflict that no one expected? The energy in the room crackled with excitement. Leo felt every heartbeat in his chest his own and the collective rhythm of the crowd. The applause had faded, but the echoes of hope lingered, swirling around him like a thick fog that blurred the lines between reality and possibility. Mark's gaze shifted from the crowd back to Leo, uncertainty mingled with something deeper. Leo couldn't discern if it was fear, vulnerability, or the stirrings of newfound understanding. The contrast between them felt stark, a billionaire's polished armor versus a community member's raw, palpable grit. Mark's hesitant tone wrapped around the name as if it were foreign to his lips. "I think we should do more than just this event. Don't you?" Every square inch of Leo's body felt alive with anticipation. "Yes. Exactly. This is just the start. We need ongoing support, workshops, mentorship programs for our veterans. We need a real plan. His voice climbed higher, fueled by the urgency that burned in his chest. A flicker of uncertainty passed over Mark's face. That's a large commitment for me. His brows knitted, a hint of the old skepticism creeping back. Think of the impact. Leo pressed, his enthusiasm spilling over. We can change lives. Not just for the veterans but for their families. We can inspire real change within the community. You have the resources, Mark? Let us channel them into something powerful. The words felt alive, bouncing back from the walls of the auditorium like they were crafted from a shared dream. Mark hesitated, his gaze surveying the room. It was a sea of faces: anxiety, hope, desperation, and resolve weaved into a tapestry that told a shared story of struggle and resilience. The expectant faces of the veterans conveyed what Leo felt deeply, a yearning for more than just handouts. They wanted empowerment. Silence hung between them as Mark wrestled with something invisible. For a moment, Leo saw a flicker of genuine emotion cross Mark's normally composed features. You really believe in this community, don't you? More than anything, Leo replied, the weight of his passion saturating every word. We can do this together. I know it. We just need a start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mark looked back at the crowd, and for possibly the first time, his expression softened. The walls around him began to show cracks. That guarded demeanor slipped, just for a moment. Okay, let us explore the possibilities. The crowd bristled with renewed energy, murmurs of excitement blending with applause. Yet doubt still lurked at the corners of Leo's mind. Was this shift genuine, or merely the result of the night's charged emotions? Emily squeezed Leo's hand tighter, her eyes wide, a shared thrill coursing through her. See? He listened, she whispered, beaming like a sunrise. But beneath her smile lay an unspoken concern. Leo felt it too, a nagging whisper that they were on the precipice of something monumental, yet fraught with uncertainty. As Tommy cheered once more from the crowd, Leo turned back to Mark, hoping to read something more than indecision in his eyes. Let us keep this momentum going, he said. How about a community meeting next week? We can brainstorm ideas, involve veterans, local businesses. We can build a coalition. Mark nodded slowly, and Leo could sense the gears of thought turning, albeit cautiously. That could work. But if I'm doing this, he paused, weighing the words carefully. I want full transparency. I need to be involved. I won't let anything go wasted. Leo felt a surge of hope, just as a few wayward whispers began to bubble through the room. The crowd hung on to every word, the air thick with promise. Then it settled, Leo said, determination swelling within him. We begin here tonight? Yet just as a flicker of excitement surged through him, the weight of doubt settled back in, heavy and pervasive. Could he truly trust Mark? Would the billionaire stand with them in the long run or vanish back into the shadows of his empire? As the applause filled the space once more, drowning in an ocean of emotions, Leo steeled himself. Change was a complicated dance, one that required more than just good intentions. And in the shadows of the warm lights, a thought nagged: was this commitment a genuine chance at hope, or just a calm before a storm? The following week, anticipation buzzed in the air as Leo set up for the community meeting. He paced the room, the corners filled with folding chairs hastily arranged. Bright banners adorned the walls, visions of hope and unity crafted by local artists. The flickering lights cast a warm glow, but the nervous energy within Leo was palpable. He glanced at Emily, who was handing out refreshments. A smile danced on her lips, but Leo could see it her own blend of excitement and anxiety. This is the moment, she said, her voice steady. We've got this. Leo took a deep breath and nodded. Yeah, we do. But inside, doubts churned. What if Mark didn't follow through? What if it was just a fleeting thrill? Emile's support helped push those worries aside, even if only for a moment. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, members of the community began to filter in. Tommy was among the first, lighting up the room with his energy. Hey, Leo! Did you see the posters? They look amazing. Leo couldn't help but grin. Thanks. The community really stepped up. More people arrived, the room filling with voices and laughter. Veterans mingled with families and local business owners. It felt like the spark of something bigger was igniting. Then, the moment Leo had been waiting for arrived. Mark stepped through the door, his presence commanding the room. The clamor of conversation hushed slightly as all eyes turned toward him. He was out of his element, but there was a determination in his stride, an intention that cut through any lingering skepticism. Thank you for being here, Mark began, his voice steady but raw. I'll admit this is new for me, stepping outside my comfort zone. But Leo and many of you have shown me the potential for change is real, concrete. As he spoke, Leo's heart raced. Mark's words resonated, a new cadence of sincerity weaving through the crowd. We'll create something meaningful together, Mark continued. I want to hear your ideas, your needs. Let us not just talk, let us make a plan. A ripple of excitement washed over the room, and at that moment, Leo felt the pulse of possibility deep in his chest. Conversations ignited, ideas flowed like a rushing river. Veterans shared their dreams. Families voiced their fears. Local businesses spoke of ways to support the community. Leo could hardly keep up. Enthusiasm surged through him, spurring him to grab a whiteboard and jot down everything he could. The energy was electric, vibrant, alive. As names and suggestions poured in, he caught a glimpse of Mark talking earnestly with a veteran. Something flickered in his eyes, understanding. Maybe this connection was sprouting a seed of true change. But amidst the hopeful atmosphere, Leo caught a hushed exchange between two veteran families in the back. Their faces were set, fear creeping into their expressions. One of them leaned over, whispering something about additional costs for housing and support. What if this becomes just another empty promise? One of them asked, her voice shaking. We need real action, not just words. The thought pierced through Leo's enthusiasm, wrapping him in uncertainty. Guilt gnawed at him. They had big dreams, but what if his trust in Mark was misplaced? Lost in thought, Leo barely registered the commotion in the room as everyone discussed the possible projects. But then Mark returned to him. Leo, I could feel the weight of those doubts, he admitted softly. We can't let them down. Their eyes locked, and Leo could sense Mark's sincerity. It ignited a flicker of hope, but it was overshadowed by the weight of expectation. Let us take these concerns seriously, Leo decided, his voice steady once more. We need to lay out a clear plan. Transparency is key. With a determined nod, Mark agreed, and together they focused their energy on building a strong foundation. Yet, the murmurs of doubt echoing from those families remained as a heavy backdrop, a reality check to the exhilaration that surged through him. As the evening drew to a close, Leo felt a flicker of passion mixed with trepidation. They were embarking on a journey, but one that carried both hope and the looming shadows of potential failure. The road ahead was unclear. Could they truly confront the challenges waiting for them, or would they crumble under pressure? With thoughts swirling like leaves in the wind, Leo took a deep breath. Something was coming, something that would change everything. But would it be for better or worse? Only time would tell. The next few days passed in a blur of planning and responsibilities. Leo felt the weight of the community's expectations resting heavily on his shoulders. Conversations from that night echoed in his mind. Faces of the families who voiced their fears haunted him as he went over notes at the small desk in his apartment. Mark had been relentless in organizing follow-up meetings, drawing up proposals, and piecing together budgets as Leo tried to keep pace with the rapid developments. The excitement from the meeting still flickered in his chest, an ember of hope, but it was lulled to a simmer by the nagging uncertainty that came with every scrutinized decision. As Leo walked into the community center for another round of meetings, he caught a glimpse of Emily poring over the materials spread out on a table. She looked up and smiled, but Leo could tell it didn't quite reach her eyes. Hey, how are you feeling about everything? She asked, her voice laced with genuine concern. He puffed air through his lips. I'm okay, I think. Just a little overwhelmed. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to tame the tangled thoughts. Emily stepped closer, her brow furrowed. You know, it's okay to feel that way. You're not alone in this. I know, he muttered. But it feels like I'm leading everyone into a storm, and what if I can't keep us afloat? With a comforting hand on his arm, she said softly, what if you can? What if you're the anchor we all need? Her words melted some of the tension inside him, but worries still loomed large as more people began filling the room. Discussions kicked off, fueled by idealism and aspirations. Leo's mind drifted back to the veteran families. What had they gone through? What did their lives look like behind closed doors? Just as a sense of determination began to blossom, Mark entered, his demeanor commanding but fatigued. He laid out a new plan, and the crowd leaned in, eager. As he spoke, Leo couldn't help but admire the way Mark inspired such trust, even while he himself felt a flicker of doubt. Then someone stood up from the back, a veteran named Jason, whose voice cut through the enthusiasm like a knife. I appreciate all the talk, but we need more than just hot air, he said, staring at Mark. What guarantees do we have that anything will change? The room tensed. Gasps scattered like marbles on the floor. Leo's heart lurched at Jason's directness. His words were hard to swallow, yet undeniably necessary. Mark nodded solemnly, taking a moment before replying. You're right, Jason. Trust is earned, not given. We have to work together to make sure this isn't just another broken promise. Fine words don't build houses, Jason shot back, the tension in the room escalating. Leo felt a storm brewing inside him, the pressure rising to match the climate of the room. What can we do? He interjected, feeling the urge to resolve this before things descended further. How can we show you we're serious? A murmur of agreement rippled through those gathered. As the heated exchange continued, Leo realized they needed to put aside debates and focus on actionable steps. Settling into a more collaborative dialogue, they started brainstorming solutions. The tension shifted, and slowly the energy in the room morphed from confrontational to cooperative. Hours went by with ideas flying back and forth, seeds of community initiatives taking root. It was a balance of urgency and hope. As Leo jotted down suggestions, he felt that ember inside begin to glow brighter. But then he remembered the family still dealing with fears of financial pressure. The stark reality hung like a curtain over their ambitions. As the meeting wrapped up, Leo felt a flicker of something new, but it was also laced with worry. Would this energy translate into something real? Or was it all just dreams dancing on paper? On his way home that evening, he took a different route, hoping for inspiration. As he passed the local park, he watched children playing, laughter threading through the air. In that moment, Leo wrestled with a realization: he was not just fighting for ideas. He was fighting for hearts, and that responsibility was both a gift and a burden. What were they prepared to sacrifice for the change they desired? Before he could fully grasp the weight of that question, his phone buzzed. A message from Mark flashed on the screen. We need to talk. I think I've found a way to make this even bigger. The uncertainty tightened in Leo's chest. What now? Could this be the breakthrough they were all hoping for, or the next challenge threatening to unravel everything they had built? With a deep breath, he glanced up at the sky, wondering what tomorrow would hold. The journey was only beginning, and the path was still cloaked in shadow. But Leo felt the flickering hope alive, even amid the doubts. What were they really willing to face? The answer was around the corner, just waiting to be revealed. The next day came, bringing a heavy air filled with expectation. Leo could hardly sit still at his desk, the impending conversation with Mark swirling in his thoughts. He replayed their previous meetings in his mind, trying to decipher what Mark might have found that could elevate their efforts. As the clock ticked closer to their appointed time, Leo felt a mixture of anticipation and dread settle in his stomach. A breakthrough could mean the world to the community, hope transformed into action. But what if it didn't lead to the change they sought? When Leo finally met Mark outside the community center, his friend was fidgeting, pacing like a caged animal. There was something excited in Mark's eyes, but also a shadow of uncertainty. Thanks for coming, Leo, Mark began, a hint of urgency creeping into his tone. I met with someone last night. A philanthropist who's keen on supporting community coalitions like ours. He wants to hear our story. Leo felt a jolt of hope. Really? That's great news. What do we need to do? Mark stopped pacing and looked straight at Leo. That's the thing, we need to be ready. We have to present a compelling case that goes beyond just our plans. This is about the heart of the community, Leo. About the people. Fingers began to tremble as Leo absorbed the implications. His thoughts rushed back to the veterans, the families struggling to make ends meet. We have to show the impact of what we're planning, the faces and stories behind our ideas. Exactly. We're not just asking for money, we're asking for belief. We need to convey the urgency of their support and the strength of our community as spirit. They hammered out a plan, poring over visuals and anecdotes that would illustrate their proposed initiatives. Leo felt the pressure mount, but the collaborative energy between them helped lighten the load. It was exhilarating to envision the potential futures they could create together, to picture the smiles that might illuminate tired faces. As the hours turned into late afternoon, Leo found himself lost in thought about the families that would be impacted. It dawned on him that he could share his own story, his struggles growing up, watching his parents make sacrifices. He needed the philanthropist to see the urgency, to understand that every moment mattered. When they finally felt prepared, Mark gave Leo a reassuring nod. Let us show them who we are. Let us make them believe. On their way to the meeting, Leo's heart raced. He could feel the weight of the community's hopes resting firmly on their shoulders. The stakes had never felt higher. As they arrived at the venue, a sleek glass building that exuded wealth, Leo's heart sank a little. It felt so distant from the lives he had experienced, and yet, this was the bridge they needed to cross. Meeting in a cozy room, they shared their vision, but it was during the storytelling that the atmosphere shifted. Leo spoke from the heart, sharing not just numbers but the real struggles of people he knew, their dreams snuffed out by poverty and uncertainty. He looked up to see the philanthropist's expression change, no longer just a businessman, but someone touched by the raw honesty of their plight. Tell me more, the man urged, leaning forward. I want to understand. Leo felt a surge of warmth within him. Was this really happening? Was their story gaining traction? But then, just as the conversation began to blossom, the door opened and another figure entered, a woman with fiery red hair and an aura of authority. She walked straight to the philanthropist and whispered something in his ear. Immediately, the warmth in the room chilled. Leo could see the connection. The concerned glances shared between them spoke volumes. What was that about? Mark whispered, his eyes darting between the philanthropist and the newcomer. Before they could find out, the philanthropist's gaze returned to Leo and Mark, but the spark had dimmed. I need to take this. Let us reconvene another time. As he exited, Leo's heart sank. They were so close. What had that woman said? In the abrupt silence that followed, Leo felt a wave of doubt wash over him. Would they have a second chance? Were all their efforts in vain, caught in the web of corporate interests that he had fought so hard against? Before he could spiral too deeply, Mark placed a steady hand on his shoulder, reminding him they still had each other. Let us not give up. We'll find another way, Mark encouraged, but Leo felt the flicker of hope dim. What lay ahead now felt uncertain, shadowed by unforeseen complications. What would it take to turn this moment around? The answer seemed elusive, but Leo wasn't ready to back down. The community was counting on him. Even if it was dark now, he knew they had to keep pushing forward. What if there was a light waiting for them just around the corner? They just had to figure out how to reach it. As the sun set outside, casting long shadows across the room, Leo and Mark exchanged anxious glances. Their dreams of a partnership felt snatched away in an instant. The silence was thick, a painful reminder of how quickly hope could turn to despair. Maybe we should try to find out who she is, Leo suggested, the spark of determination igniting once again. If she had that much influence, maybe she knows something about him, something we can use. Mark nodded, his brow furrowing in thought. That could work. But how do we find out about her? We don't exactly run in the same circles. Let us ask around, Leo replied, already feeling a new energy surge through him. It wasn't enough to merely dwell on what they lost. They needed to act. We can talk to the people in the community center. Someone might have seen her or know her. Together, they took a deep breath, steeling themselves for the next challenge. As they stepped back out into the evening breeze, the weight of their earlier encounter lingered, but Leo felt a flicker of belief. They had each other, and they weren't alone in this fight. The community center buzzed with its usual evening activities. Families mingled, children played, and the atmosphere was filled with laughter. Leo and Mark weaved through the crowd, approaching familiar faces. "Hey, anyone seen a lady with fiery red hair?" Leo asked, scanning the room. An older woman named Rosa, who had been serving coffee to volunteers, looked up. "Are you talking about Lila? She's a big advocate for the community but tends to work behind the scenes," she replied, her voice laced with warmth. "Why? What do you need to know?" Leo shared what little they understood how Lila had interrupted their presentation and pulled the billionaire away. "We felt like we were so close," he added, his voice carrying a mix of desperation and hope. Rosa considered their words, her brow furrowing. "Lila is passionate about helping families, especially those struggling. She doesn't just focus on the numbers. If you want her to listen, you might want to tell her that story of yours, Leo." "Do you think she'd be willing to meet us?" Mark asked, his tone cautious but hopeful. "I can try to reach her," Rosa said. "She comes in regularly for community meetings. Let me talk to her and see if she might be open to a chat." Thanking Rosa, Leo felt a new weight lift, a small glimmer of possibility. This was a new direction, a second chance. They left the center that night, uncertainty still nagging at the edges of their minds, but they pressed forward, driven by the thought of what might come next. Leo's mind raced with visions of connecting with Lila, the hope that maybe they could sway her heart. What if she empathized with their cause? What if she had connections that could change everything? Days passed, filled with anticipation, when finally, Leo received a call. Rosa had managed to arrange a meeting between them and Lila, and she was eager to hear their story. The day of the meeting arrived. Leo's hands shook as he paced in front of the community center, adrenaline coursing through him. Mark stood beside him, equally restless. With one last deep breath, they stepped inside. Would Lila's compassion match her reputation? Would she listen not only to their plans but to the heartbeat of the community they embodied? As they sat waiting, Leo felt his heart race. This was their chance to paint a vivid picture of the lives they aimed to uplift. He glanced at Mark, who gave a reassuring nod, silently telling him they were in this together. And then the door opened. Lila walked in, her presence commanding yet warm. As she settled into her seat, Leo's heart pounded in his chest, every moment crystallizing into a single thought. Could they convey the urgency of their mission in a way that reached her? Before he began, he caught her gaze, and the world seemed to pause. Was this the breakthrough they needed? But just as he opened his mouth to speak, the unexpected happened. Lila's expression shifted, and she leaned in closer, her eyes narrowing with focus. "I was at a community garden last week," she said suddenly. "You won't believe what I witnessed." Caught entirely off guard, Leo leaned forward, eager to hear what she had to say. What could she have possibly seen that might change everything? Lila's voice hung in the air, her words thick with excitement. "There was this kid Tommy. He's just 12, but he was out there organizing his friends to plant vegetables. They were all working side by side, laughing, having a blast. But what struck me most was how he brought everyone together. Kids from different schools, kids who usually wouldn't mix." Leo's heart quickened. Was she talking about community spirit? Was this how they could connect to the billionaire? Lila continued. "He shared his story of how his family struggled last year. His dad lost his job, and they almost lost their home. But he didn't just sulk. No, he decided to do something. He rallied his friends and, with the help of neighbors, started that garden. Now they're harvesting food to share with families in need." Mark leaned in, already feeling the emotional weight of the tale. Leo could sense the energy in the room shifting, Lila's passion igniting a spark of hope in both him and Mark. "Wow, that's incredible," Leo managed to say, feeling the words bubble up within him. That kind of courage and initiative, it's exactly what needs to happen in our community. Lila nodded, her eyes brightening. And that's what I'm wondering. If a 12-year-old can inspire so much change, what's stopping us? When I saw that transformation, I thought of other kids in neighborhoods like this one, what they could do if they just had a chance. Leo felt the air thicken with possibility. That's what we're aiming for, creating opportunities for all those young voices to shine. It's not just about the numbers or the funding, it's about the stories, real people with real struggles. Lila leaned back, considering their words. So you're saying Tommy's story could be a part of your project? That it could resonate with the billionaire? Exactly. Mark jumped in, the apprehension in his posture softening. If we can show him that connecting with the community could lead to real change, it might matter more than all the spreadsheets in the world. Lila's thoughtful demeanor shifted to one of resolve. I like where your heads are at. But we need more than just good ideas, we need a plan that tells a compelling narrative, something that would draw him in, heart and all. Can we tell Tommy's story? Can we get him involved? Leo asked, a mix of excitement and urgency swelling within him. That could definitely work, Lila replied, a grin breaking across her face. But we also need to make sure we highlight how important community collaboration is. This can't just be about a single story. We want to show the power of unity. Leo and Mark exchanged glances, the wheels in their minds turning faster than ever. They could weave together tales from different kids, different backgrounds, showing how each one of them had the potential to make a difference. As the meeting continued, ideas flowed freely between them. Lila proposed organizing a community event to showcase these stories, an open forum where families could share their journeys, their struggles, their dreams. They would invite not just the local community but also the billionaire, putting faces to the dire statistics he had ignored earlier. Leo couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. In that moment, surrounded by their renewed hope, he felt the pulse of possibility surge through him. Just as they began to formulate a solid plan, Lila's phone buzzed with an incoming message. She frowned, glancing at the screen. I need to take this, she said. Stepping aside, the conversation paused, but the excitement of the moment lingered. What news awaited her? Would it concern their plans? As Leo and Mark waited, each heartbeat echoed the anticipation in the room, the fragile thread of hope now feeling more substantial, almost tangible. The click of Lila's heels against the floor blended into the background hum, but all Leo could think was, what if this was the breakthrough they truly needed? And the moment Lila re-entered, her expression was serious. Guys, when I told you I was at the garden well, there's something else I need to share. Something I didn't realize until just now. What secret could she reveal that would intertwine their paths with fate? Lila took a deep breath, her eyes shifting back and forth between Leo and Mark, as if weighing her words carefully. Before I went to the garden, I was visiting the community center, she began, her voice almost a whisper. While I was there, I met a young man named Kevin, the son of the janitor who works there. He told me about his project, which is similar to Tommy's garden but even more personal. Leo leaned in, curiosity mixed with concern. He shared how he didn't have a father figure growing up, Lila continued, her voice strong now. But he had this teacher who took a special interest in him. This teacher not only encouraged him to dream big but also helped him get his first job mowing lawns, then eventually helping out in the community center. Mark's eyebrows lifted in surprise. So what's his project? Kevin started a program called Future Builders, where kids from low-income neighborhoods learn construction skills. They build furniture and even small structures like birdhouses, Lila explained. He told me he wants to teach them how to create jobs for themselves, not just get handouts. Leo felt a surge of inspiration. That's incredible. And it ties directly into the need for community initiative. We could highlight both Tommy's garden and Kevin's project, showing how young people can lead change. Exactly. Lila's energy was electric, filling the room. But here's the twist. Kevin's story is close to home because he dreams of being an architect someday, and to do that, he needs a scholarship. The kind of scholarship only a big donation could sway. Mark's eyes widened as realization hit him. If we can weave both stories together, the struggle, the determination, it might just appeal to the billionaire's heart. He invests in education, after all. Lila nodded enthusiastically. And maybe, if Kevin shared his story at the community event, it could resonate with him on a deeper level. If he sees that his support can directly impact lives, Leo felt a warmth spread through him, as if everything was aligning just right. We need to get both Tommy and Kevin involved. We can set up interviews, maybe even create a video that captures the essence of what they're doing. But then a thought struck him. And Lila, if you're right about the connection to the janitor, that's the kind of human element that pulls at heartstrings. It adds depth. It could turn a stranger into an advocate. Lila smiled, pride etched on her face. I think we have a winning formula, guys. But first, we need to put it all together. I suggest we conduct interviews this week and gather everything we need for the event. Mark nodded in agreement, but a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. But what if the billionaire doesn't see it the way we hope? What if our stories just don't land? Leo laid a hand on Mark's shoulder. You know what? It's worth the risk. Even if he doesn't respond the way we want, we'll be sharing these stories, and who knows what kind of connections they could spark. Sometimes it only takes one person to listen. Lila's phone buzzed again, and she glanced at it, eyes widening in surprise. I just got a message from Kevin's teacher. She wants to meet us tomorrow. And she mentioned the billionaire might be interested in hearing our combined stories. The room exploded with energy at the thought. Leo's heart raced with excitement. This could be the moment we've been waiting for. Lila's enthusiasm was infectious. We need to make sure we're prepared. We have to bring our A-game to this meeting. We can't let any opportunity slip by. As they huddled closer together, brainstorming the format of the event and the storytelling aspects, Leo couldn't shake the feeling of urgency growing inside him. They were closer than ever, but the stakes were higher too. Could they truly convince the billionaire of the power of these young voices? What if the stories they shared could not only change one life, but many more? Would Kevin and Tommy's openness with their struggles break through and pull on the billionaire's heartstrings? That question hung in the air, dripping with potential and trepidation. As they prepped for the big day, Leo couldn't help but wonder, would it all come crashing down before they even got their chance? The day of the big community event arrived, and excitement crackled in the air. Leo stood in front of the community center, surrounded by colorful banners and smiling faces. The atmosphere buzzed with chatter and anticipation, and for a moment, he allowed himself to soak it all in. People had come together, thrown around ideas, and now it felt like a celebration of hope. Emily clasped Leo's hand tightly. Are you ready for this? Her eyes sparkled with encouragement, and yet Leo could sense her own nerves simmering under the surface. I think so, he replied, though his heart raced with a mix of anxiety and hope. We've worked too hard for this not to be something special. He turned his attention to the crowd filtering in, a familiar blend of families, veterans, and local supporters. They had a vision, and today, they would share it together. As the crowd settled into the community center, Leo felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. This was their chance, the culmination of all their efforts with Kevin, Tommy, and stories of resilience woven through every corner of the community. He couldn't help but glance toward the doorway, waiting for Lila, Kevin, and Tommy to join him. They needed to unite for this moment. When Lila arrived with Kevin and Tommy in tow, Leo's heart soared. Kevin's energy was infectious, practically bouncing as he reminisced about the garden he'd started. Tommy's face was lit with determination. Both boys were enthusiastic champions of their communities. With a nod from Lila, they gathered everyone for an opening circle. Leo could feel the collective anticipation thick in the air as he stood at the front. Thank you all for being here today, he began, emotions swelling within him. This event is about people, about stories, and about the passion we have for making our community better. We've all faced challenges, but together, we are powerful. Cheers erupted in response, lifting Leo's spirits even higher. One by one, Kevin and Tommy shared their stories, recounting how they transformed their pain into purpose-leading initiatives, working alongside their peers, and reviving hope in their neighborhoods. The crowd was spellbound, every word hammering home the message that they could change their futures. As they finished, Leo could see the impact their stories had. The energy in the room shifted, heads nodded, and murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. It was the awakening they had all hoped for. Lila stepped up next, speaking passionately about the potential of community collaboration, echoing their message. We're inviting you to join us, not just to hear us, but to act. Together, we can build something that lasts, but we need your help. The response was electric, enthusiasm igniting the crowd as ideas flew and questions poured. Leo glanced around, exhilarated by the momentum they had generated. He spotted Mark in the crowd, his presence a steady backdrop. Would he embrace this message, step forward with support? Leo held his breath as Mark listened intently. But as they neared the end of the presentations, a figure emerged. The billionaire stepped forward, bringing with him an air of authority. Leo's heart raced, uncertain of what to expect. Mark stood before them, eyes surveying the audience. If I may, Mark's voice resonated, drawing the attention of every single person in the room. What I've witnessed here today is not only impressive but transformative. I'm moved by the connections you've made. His eyes flicked to Kevin and Tommy, then to Leo. But the truth is, I've been blind to the potential that exists outside of my world. A collective gasp spread across the audience. Leo felt hope shimmering like sunlight breaking through clouds. Mark continued, I pledge to support your initiatives. Not just financially, but with the resources of my company to help you create pathways for these young leaders. The crowd erupted into applause, a wave of joy washing over the room. Leo felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes as relief washed over him. The moment felt monumental, like a dream coming true. With this one promise, they could mobilize change and rebuild their community. But Mark wasn't finished. I want this community to thrive, not just to survive. Let us form a committee to bring together young voices and local leaders, all of you working together on initiatives that matter. As the cheers grew louder, Leo looked over at Lila, then at Kevin and Tommy. Their faces were radiant, banners of inspiration holding high above. This was the moment. This was the bridge between their dreams and reality. The crowd surged with energy, hearts swelling with contagious passion. Later, Leo stood outside, looking at the sky turning into a kaleidoscope of colors. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, not just for himself, but for his father, his friends, and everyone gathering around them. They were united in purpose, and together they would create a ripple of change. Emily's hand intertwined with his, warmth spreading through him. You did it, she said softly, awe in her voice. You believed in this community, and it believed in you. He focused on the faces gathered, each one an echo of resilience and spirit. No, we did it, he replied, as realization washed over him. Together. As dusk fell, Leo felt hope bloom in every shadow. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but it was brighter. They had turned the tide, ignited a movement. The future was waiting, and they were ready to seize it. Now it was time not just to dream but to keep pushing forward. To fight for the light that lay within every heart in their community. With a smile, he embraced the promise of what was yet to come. And as the night deepened, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. If you found inspiration in this story and want to hear more transformative tales like Leo's, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support by hitting that like button and feeding the algorithm. Let me know your reactions and feelings about the ending in the comments. I'm eager to hear what you think. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Together, let us shine a light on change.